Dirshu Hashem v'himotzai kra'u v'yosei kolev. There are times of the year where there's a concept as if Hashem is closer to us. And where is it? Let's go from the beginning. Where does the concept of Chodesh Elul begin? We're in Chodesh Elul, and it's preparation for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So there's a hint to this specific time in the Torah. In Parshas Ekev, it says, Eretz, the Torah is speaking about Eretz Yisrael. Tomed Eini Hashem Elokecha bo meireshis Hashana ad achris Hashana. So there's one drash in the Gemara, the eyes of Hashem are constantly in Eretz Yisrael, meireshis Hashana, from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. Now, the Chazal darshan meireshis Hashana, Nigza, from the beginning of the year, is decreed Ma Yeh B'Soifu. What's going to be at the end of the year? This is where nowhere does it say in the Torah. The Torah tells us that on the first day of Tishrei, the Chodesh Hashvi, the Chodesh Yom Trua Yeh Lochem, a day of blowing, but it doesn't say that it's a din. Chachomim come and tell us that Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Adin. That's a rumors in the Torah. By the way, the word Reishis in the Torah is written without an aleph. There's a drash on this as well, and Reishis makes the letters Tishrei. It's interesting. Reishis is Tishrei. And if the Reishis Hashanah is the month of Tishrei, the Torah specifically states Reishis Hashanah and Achris Hashanah. So if Tishrei is the Reishis Hashanah, what's the Achris Hashanah? The Achris Hashanah is Elul. You know, if the beginning is good and the end is good, so then it shows that the middle is all right. There's a problematic in the middle, but it's that the identity is fixed according to the beginning and the end. You have a halacha in Eidus. If an Eid, if when he sees the Eidus, he's kosher, and when he says the Eidus, he says the witness, a witness, and he says testimony. If at the time when he saw the testimony he was kosher to see, and when he says the testimony in Beis Din, he was kosher to see, but he's kosher as well. But in between, he was a mishpoch, he was a korov, and he was possible in the middle. It doesn't pass. If it's chilasai, it's called chilasai v'soifoi b'kashus. The beginning is kosher, the end is kosher. So it's very important. The beginning of the year we begin good. Elul is the end of the year. Meireshis, there's a specific emphasis on reishis and achrus. How do you say in English the expression, all is well that finishes well? You have to finish the year well. This is Chodesh Elul. You have to finish it well. So what is the concept of the emet of an eis rotzah? Very interesting. The Gemara says that Bilam, bring an example to explain the concept of an eis rotzah. When it's Chodesh Elul is called an eis rotzah. It's a time of extended kindness from the Rebbeinu Shalom. We have another concept of time which is exactly the opposite of eis rotzah. What's the opposite of eis rotzah? A time of din, of judgment, stern judgment. It says that Bilam, Am Yisrael was afraid of the klala, the curse of Bilam. Why? Yudea das Elyon. So the Gemara in Brachas explains, what did he know? The Gemara says, is Yudea das Elyon? He didn't even know what's going on in his animal. So he knows the das of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says he had one type of intuition. He knew to be mechaven, to know when there's a zman, a time of din in Shemayim. And then, if he would say a klala, a curse, the curse could have an effect because of the Midas Hadin. So what do we see from this? That there's such a thing as time in creation. The right time you can do something in a time that's fitting with that time, which you can't do at another time. Of course, we're not supposed to, that's the astrology. The Am Yisrael is above Teva. We're not supposed to look at this time, at that time, but from the point of Hashem, we are. There's such a thing as an Eis Din and an Eis Ratzah. So just like by Bilam, his curse would have effect in the Eis Hadin, that means so the same thing is we want to understand the concept of an Eis Ratzah, that means what we can do in this time, you can't do another time. And I want to bring an example of this to make it clearer. The Talmidim, the students of Rav Yisrael Salanta, the founder of the Musa movement, it says, as a preparation for the days of judgment, they would learn in Elul with fantastic hasmada. How do you translate hasmada in English?
Diligence.
Diligence. In other words, they would be very, very serious about their learning. And how would they learn? We can't even imagine it, I'll tell you the truth. 18 hours a day. What's left? The eating, sleeping, and everything else? 18 hours a day. The Talmud Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, he would go into what's called Hitboledut, solitude, and would be Divrei Musa, the Yira, and they had a different way of behavior in Chodesh Elul. So, I saw the Mashgiach of Lakewood, he asked the question, the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, how much is the chiyuv, the obligation that you have to learn Torah? How much is the amount that you have to learn Torah in order to fulfill the mitzvah? So it says, we say it every day. Eilu dvarim she'ein lehem shiurm. Talmud Torah v'gemilas chasadim. This Bryce is brought from Seches Chagiga, and there's a parish from the Shagas Ari. So he explains. You can make a mistake. Let's read the Siddur, right? What does it say? Eilu dvarim she'ein lehem shiurm doesn't have an amount. As what it says, Apeya. What does it say in the Siddur? Apeya, Abikurim,
Vayom,
Gemilas Chasadim, and Talmud Torah. So tell me, Apeya, how much pay do you have to give? A little bit. You have to leave over a little bit. If you cut the whole soda, you won't make the mitzvah. If you want, you can leave over more. So a little bit is the mitzvah. Kol Amarba, whoever does more, I raise the Meshuvah. Bikurim, the same thing. You bring the first fruit. How much of the first fruit? How much you want. So what does it mean by Gemilas Chasadim and Talmud Torah? So we say the same thing. Gemilas Chasadim, if you can help, if you want to do a little bit of chesed, very fine. You want to do more chesed, I raise the Meshuvah. Torah, you want to learn a little bit of Torah, very nice. You want to be a big chassid, you learn a lot of it. Chas v'sholem. The pshat changes. In Peah, the Kurin, Reyoyan means the kabbanis that they would bring at the time of the regal when they go into the Azorah. So there's a minimum, and if you bring more than the minimum, it's a greater mitzvah. There's a minimum of the mitzvah. Torah is no minimum. Torah, English Shia, the pshat is, this is the obligation. It's the chiyuv. How much you can do, that's the chiyuv. The same way chesed. If you're the one that can help this other one, and there's nobody else that can help him, it's your obligation. Or if you see that others are not helping him, it won't be done by others, it's your obligation. How much do you have to help your fellow friend? As much as you can. English. Giving us chasod in the Talmud Torah. That's not the pshat. Tavaya lecha bracha, you get a bracha for doing more. That's the obligation, that's the chiyuv. There is no minimum. English. So now he asks a question. I don't understand. What's happening here with these students of Rabbi Yisrael? If they can learn 18 hours a day, so why didn't they learn 18 hours a day the whole year? What's it suddenly you become a majestic chassid in Chodesh Elul? If you can do it the whole year. What's his game? And if you can't do it, so how do they do it in Elul? Because if they can do it, that means that the whole year they were over an Aveira. Just like there's a mitzvah to learn Torah, there's an Aveira called Bitul Torah. If you can learn and you don't learn, you're over Bitul Torah. You're chayiv to learn the amount that you can. B'chol shinantam levanecha, that is a mitzvah essay of Talmud Torah. B'chol koicha, with all this koich that he can learn, he has to learn. It's not that you're on vacation a whole year and you're a nice guy after Krishma and Mishnah, the daily Mishnah and the daily Gemara. Or the daily, even after you learn your daf yomi, you also have to learn as much as you can. By the way, I'm going off the subject for a minute. It says kva itim l'tayr. So the chidah set aside itim. What is itim? Many times, as many times as you can. Eis lasos l'Hashem. If you have a religious time training program, eis lasos one time. It's against the Torah. You have to do as much as you can. Kavah itim many times. So now the question is back to the students of Yisrael Salantas. So what's this? How come in Elul they learned 18 hours? The answer is that they did not have the koyach to learn 18 hours the whole year. But Elul is what we call an Eis Ratzon. That is the meaning of an Eis Ratzon. In an Eis Ratzon, in a time of closeness to Hashem, you can do in this time what you can't do another time. In other words, a person should say, tshuva is a mitzvah the whole year. What's the difference if I do tshuva in Elul? Now I'm busy, I have a business deal to take care of, I'm going to lose a lot of money. I'll do tshuva in Chodesh Cheshvan. I'm not committing that tshuva is tshuva. The din, say that, all right, maybe I won't have a good din. But that's it. It's not the pshat that we did Chodesh Elul is a time of tshuva because you have to do tshuva because otherwise you won't have a good din. It's also true, but that's a side point. Chodesh Elul is a Zman Ratzon. In a Zman Ratzon, you can do just like Bilam, the other way around. Sometimes you can learn something from the opposite. Bilam could not affect with his curses in a Zman of Din, if it wasn't the Zman of Din. What he could do in the Zman of Din, he couldn't do another time. It's the same way, what you can do in a time of closeness to Hashem, you can't do another time. The tshuva that you can do in Chodesh Elul, you can't do it the whole year. You have a special siyata d'shmaya, a special spiritual aid from Hashem to change in Chodesh Elul. There's a special helping from Hashem. That's the meaning of Eis Ratzon. You can't do it all the time. And now I just want to add to this concept. This is
No, in Mishnah it says there's a time for this and a time for that. So too, there's a time
that doesn't mean a special time. It means that there's a situation. There, the word is a situation. A situation.
The situation is...
Yeah, here we're talking about time mamish. Just like Shabbos is a special time. What you do on Shabbos is what you do in the middle of the week, which might be a mitzvah on Shabbos, suddenly becomes Chilul Shabbos, desecration of the Shabbos. We see time is a bria. In Jewish hashkafa, time is not just a theoretical construct how to measure the actions. Time exists as a separate entity, even though we can't imagine a world without time, but time is not an abstract construct in the mind of man in order to make things easier to discuss situations. Time is actually a bri'ah, it's a creation. And that's why it says there's a concept that you sanctify an animal, for example, to a Kodesh Baruch or korban. You hektish, it's an animal sanctified. So it says about Shabbos in the first, right in the beginning of Ma'aseh Bereishis, Vayevorech Elokim es Yom HaShvi'i Vayekadesh Yisrael. He sanctified the Shabbos. How can you sanctify something that doesn't exist? You can't sanctify a concept. Time is not a concept. Time is a physical entity in the creation. And if you ask, where is it written in the Torah that Hashem created time? So the Gaon Vilna says, the first Maimer of Asura, the Gemara says that Asura Maimoris Nivroilim, 10 statements of creation. What's the first statement of creation? Bereshis Bara Elokim. That first word, Bereshis, means the creation of time. He created time. Yotzeh Bereshis, he created time. And like time is an entity, there are different natures of time. So different times have different properties. And the property of Chodesh Elul is an Eis Ratzon. If it's Eis Ratzon, it's a time closer to Hashem. That means it's easier in this time to change and to get closer to Hashem. And now I want to get to an interesting anecdote. Ki rega ba'apon. The time that Hashem is kayis, every day there's a time that Hashem is angry, so to speak. Because Adin is only a rega. So and Bilam knew to find this rega. Asks Tosfos, what is the minute that Bilam, how could Bilam destroy Klal Yisrael in a minute? What could he already say in a minute which would destroy Klal Yisrael? So Tosfos answers, it's brought down in Brothers, I don't remember which that, Chesed maybe in the base. The Kitzah, Tosfos answers in one teretz, he could say, Kaleim, Chaf Lamed Mem. What does Kalei mean? Destroy them, finish them off. And Kodesh Baruch Hu did not have this Midas Adin, and he made it into an Eis Rotzon, and he changed the says Taisus, listen to this. He changed the Kaleim to what's written in the Nevuah of Bilam. One of the psukim is, Hibit of the Yankiv, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't see the Aveiros of Yankiv, Loiramu boy, but to the contrary, just like a person doesn't see faults in himself, Hashem unites with Klal Yisrael. Hashem Elokov Imai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with them, Usruat Melech Boy. The Truah, the Shechina of the Melech is amongst them. And Truat Melech Boy reminds of the Truah of Rosh Hashanah. So he changed Kaleim into the word, if you take the word Kaleim, and now let's go backwards. What does Kaleim make backwards?
Melech.
Melech. He changed the Kaleim, the destruction of Klal Yisrael, into Melech. We have a mitzvah on Rosh Hashanah, with the Truas Melech Shofar, with the Shofar, the Truas Melech Shofar, Rosh Hashanah is Truas Melech Boy. We change, and you know what? Let's go further. It's very interesting. Watch Parasha, we always 2 weeks away from Rosh Hashanah, we always read Parshas Kisava. And the Gemara says in Megillah, you know why we read Parshas Kisava before Rosh Hashanah? Always the Shabbos before Nitzavim, but the actual 2 weeks before Parshas Kisava. Parshas Kisava is the Teichacha. All the klalot of Am Yisrael if they don't keep the Torah. So the Gemara says we read Parshas Kisava 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. Tichle shana v'klalaisel v'tochel shana v'chaisel. That the klalas, Rosh Hashanah and Elul, which is a preparation, is an opportunity to change the whole nature of the world, to change the whole nature of the relationship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Klal Yisrael. And we certainly need it. We're in enormous danger. We're almost like before the Holocaust of World War II. One doesn't realize, one goes around because as long as everything is fine, he doesn't realize the enormous danger that we're in. So, Tichla Shana V'Klal Yisrael, in other words, Rosh Hashanah is the ability to change the Kaleim to Melech. Because when Am Yisrael is Mamlich HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when they crown HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they make him a Melech, this brings all the Rachamim, and this changes the Din to Rachamim. Melech and Kaleim, the relationship, that why Melech is the opposite of Kaleim, because the solution to soften the Din and to be Mahapech the Din, in other words, to turn around the Din to mercy, is the power, what changes around is the power of Malchus. One of the pshatim in this Malchus is acceptance, to not to be in argument with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When a person is angry at us, or if a person has what's called kapdamut, he's angry at a person. In every kapdamut, there's a situation, if you go in depth, there's a situation where a person is in rebellion with the wish of Hashem. What is anger? Anger is there's the reality, and there's my inner wish, and the reality doesn't fit with my inner wish. What is the reality? The reality is the Ratzon Hashem. If I deeply believe that Hashem, it's not easy. I'm just defining. This is one of the most difficult things in life. But let's know where we're standing. The reality is really Ratzon Hashem. What is the Ratzon Hashem, because He's the Melech. There is nothing that happens which is not Ratzon Hashem. There's no way that we can understand this Ratzon Hashem. We don't know the Ratzon Hashem. We don't see. He sees from the beginning of the world to the end, from the beginning of the world to the end of the world. We only see a small part. But anger means that there's a contradiction between the reality and my wish. I wish that things be different. And because they're not different, I reach a point of anger. I'm angry with the reality. I'm angry. There's anger in depth. There's rebellion. It's a revolution against the kingdom of the Rebbeinu Shalom, against the throne of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Acceptance, if I accept what is, that means I nichna, I humiliate, I humble myself in front of the throne of the Rebbeinu. That's nichnas. And that's one of the avodas of Elul, to change the kalei, when I accept the midas hadin, this itself softens the midas hadin. There's a pasuk, but then Yonah brings a pasuk of this. But the minute that you bow down to the din, HaKadosh Baruch Hu changes it to rachamim. Oitcha, the end of the pasuk. Oitcha Hashem ki anaftali. I'll thank you, Hashem, when I see that you put your din on me. And the end of the pasuk somehow that it changed. I don't remember how it goes. It's in Shari Tshuva. And this immediately, when a person is nichna, the din changes. This itself has the capacity to change. It changes the hanhog of Kodesh Baruch Hu. When a person accepts the din, this itself changes the din terachah. If you accept it. And this is, in a certain sense, one of the meanings of the Piyas HaShofar of Rosh Hashanah. Yom Tu'ah Lechem. Because the shofar, the tachlis of the shofar, there's a paradox in mitzvah shofar. The shofar is from one angle din. And it says when Am Yisrael blows the shofar, it has the capacity that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, leaves the seat of stern judgment, he leaves the Midas Hadin, and he goes into Midas Harachim. Why? Because the shofar represents acceptance of the din. When Am Yisrael blows the shofar, that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Yoshev Akisem Yisrael. How does we say? The Teifer Shofar Gadol Yitoka, the Yoimru, Amalachim, all of them get fear. The Yoimru, Hine Yoim Adin. When do they say it's Yoim Adin? When the shofar blows. So Am Yisrael blows the shofar. They say, "Ribono shel olam, we accept your din. We accept your malchus. We accept your din." Because we know that the inner ratzon of all the din is kindness. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is only a teivu meitiv, and even what we see as stern din and punishment is also rachmin. It's all teiv on Klal Yisrael. And the acceptance of the din, this itself, this meed of acceptance, which that's the malchus itself, that turns the din into rachim. So the avodah of this man is taka. So the marshal of bringing a marshal from Midas Adin to Eis Ratzon from Bilam is not so far. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That's taka the avodah of this man. This man is to change like a Kodesh Baruch Hu at the time of Bilam. He changed Kalim into Melech. This is the Be'emet, the avodah of Chodesh Elul. This tichle, like the Chazal fixed the reed to Pashas Kisavai. Tichle shana v'kiloisel, v'tochel shana v'choisel. And tichle is with a chav. Tichle means stop. Vayichal Hashem b'es malachta. He finished this malacha. Finish, stop, put an end. Kalei is to put an end, or to remove. Remove the year and its klolus, what's with a chav. The tochel, that's with a ches. Tochel is miloshen tchila. Beginning. And begin a year of brachas. Stop the curses from the previous year, which is a teiloda from our lack of tshuva on the previous year of Rosh Hashanah. And now if we do tshuva, we can be ma'ayra, we can awaken a new bracha. Every year is a creation in itself. That's the concept. It's not a continuation. It's a new HaKadosh Baruch Hu renews the year. And this itself is why it's Mesugel, why this time of the year is Mesugel for tshuva. Because that's what tshuva is. There's certain, we can use from a body in motion tends to stay in motion, inertia. There's a certain sense of inertia in the human being as well. He goes the way he's going. Aveira, Gereris, Aveira. He's on the downslide, he continues sliding further down. He's on the upside, Mitzvah, Gereris, Mitzvah. Rosh Hashanah is a stop because it's a new creation. So it counteracts the natural inertia of the way the person's going, and that's the time that there's and so it's possible to do tshuva, because that's what tshuva is. Tshuva is to turn around, to make an abound face, to stop the inertia. 1 minute, hold it. Let's begin anew. Let's stop and begin anew. The whole tchuna, the nature of this period is renewal, and therefore it's also misugal. It has the skula for renewal, and that. Outside of the so we spoke in the nature of the world that tshuva is built into this kufa, and the fact that it's an eis rotzei, it's a time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mischarek to us. The two things together, when they combine, make this time such a special time. Now, it's very important. I want one more point I want to bring out. The Mefarshim bring about. I can get to the news. Sorry, I can get this news.
Make up for the 3 weeks we missed.
The Mefarshim bring. They bring, yes, they bring a remes to Chodesh Elul. In Pashas Nitzavim there's a pasuk, Umol Hashem Elokecha es levacha es levav zarecha. Hashem will circumcise your heart and the heart of your children. These words, es levavcha, the es levav, these 4 words, the first letter makes the word, the name Chodesh Elul. Es levavcha, aleph lamed, the es levav zarecha, es levav. Your heart and the heart. And what does it mean, circumcision of the heart? So the Ramban says on the place, Nachman says that this pasuk is referring that at the end of time, when Mashiach will come, later into the era of Mashiach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will uproot the Yetzer Hara from the heart. And this means, in a different sense, that in every Elul is mitorer, or is awakened something of this era when Hashem will uproot the Yetzer Hara from the heart. That's the school of this man. And by the way, the shofar refers to this as well, because the shofar, it says, the Gemara brings in Rosh Hashanah, the shofar is to be ma'arvevet ha-satan, to mix up the satan. And who is the